You ever notice how they talk about us? Well, poor old bastard. Eats dinner alone, watches the news, dies with the TV on, like we're some tragedy waiting for a eulogy. Let me tell you something, they're the tragedy. The ones who spent their lives screaming into the void, begging for someone to notice them. See, they sold you a lie, told you connection means plastering on a smile, shaking hands that feel like dead fish, and laughing at jokes that ain't funny. And for what? So you can say you networked? So you can die with 500 LinkedIn connections and not a single soul who'd spit on your grave if you choked on your own lies? I've been to funerals. The ones packed with mourners, half of them are there for the free sandwiches. The quiet ones in the back, those are the men who knew the real you, the ones who didn't need a stage to see your worth. You want to know the secret they're too scared to tell you? Loneliness ain't your enemy, it's your ally. It's the cold shower that wakes you up to the fact that most people don't matter. You think Darwin wrote about survival of the fittest? Nah, it's survival of the quietest, the ones who didn't waste their energy howling at the moon. Let's talk about Herman Melville. Wrote this doorstop of a book about a madman chasing a whale. Sold 500 copies, died broke, forgotten. Now, they call him a genius. Lesson, legacy don't give a damn about your popularity contest. They'll tell you Tesla died alone, crazy, talking to pigeons. You know what else he did? Lit up the goddamn world, literally. While Edison was busy playing circus ringmaster, Tesla was in his lab, building the future. You think history remembers Edison's jokes, his charisma? No, they remember the work. Same goes for you. That model train set in your basement, the novel you've been scribbling at for 10 years, the garden you prune like it's the last piece of sanity you've got, that's your whale. That's your alternating current. And every minute you spend on it, that's a bullet in the chamber against the day they finally shut up and listen. You want to know why introverts outlive the loudmouths? Because we're not busy burning our fuel on bullshit. We're the tortoises. And let me tell you, the tortoise always wins. The hare, he's too busy tweeting his breakfast to notice the finish line. Now, let's get tactical. You're not here for platitudes. You're here because you want to turn this so-called curse into a knife. And I'm going to hand you the whetstone. First rule of silence. Make them work for it. You ever seen a CEO beg for a man's opinion? No. Why? Because he knows the rarest thing in the world ain't diamonds. It's a man who speaks only when he's got something to say. You know how Frank Sinatra sold records? He'd pause, let the silence hang so thick you could choke on it. Then he'd slide in with a note that'd melt your spine. That's you. Every time you don't laugh at their jokes, every time you let their small talk die at your feet, you're Sinatra, and they're just the orchestra waiting for your cue. Second rule, become a ghost. Not the sad, haunting kind, the kind that's there 1 second, gone the next. Leave conversations early. Don't explain. Let them wonder if you're a genius or a psychopath. Pro tip, they'll assume genius. Why? Because guilty consciences always assume the worst. Third rule, master the art of the unseen win. You fix the neighbor's fence, but don't mention it. You read Marcus Aurelius at the nursing home, but don't post it online. You become the rumor they can't confirm, the myth, the man who doesn't need a pat on the back to know he's alive. I had a wife once. She loved parties, loved the noise, died thinking I resented her for it. Truth is, I pitied her. Every time she came home with another friend who'd forget her name in a week, I'd think, you poor, beautiful fool. They'll tell you love's about grand gestures, fireworks, midnight serenades. Real love? That's the man who sits with you in chemo and doesn't need to fill the silence. The one who knows your soul without a map. Your final revenge ain't wealth, ain't fame. It's looking back and knowing you never diluted yourself for a world that wouldn't recognize purity if it bit them in the ass. So let them talk, let them pity. Let them throw their parties and their parades. You've got better things to do, like outliving them, like outthinking them, like building a legacy in the quiet corners where the real world gets made. Let's read the room, gentlemen. The loudest man in the room is always the weakest. Why? Because he's compensating for bad marriages, shallow ideas, and a resume thinner than the hair on his head. You ever watch a rooster? Struts around, screams at the sun, acts like he owns the barnyard. Know what happens to roosters? They get their necks wrong when they stop crowing. Meanwhile, the old hound dog under the porch, he lives to 15, dies fat and happy, and gets a grave-marked loyal bastard. They'll call you cold, call you detached. Good. Cold is what preserves meat. Detached is what lets you see the rot in the system. While they're busy high-fiving over their latest pyramid scheme, you're stacking cash in a safe they'll never find. While they're posting grandkid photos for likes, you're teaching that same kid how to think, not how to beg for attention. Time's the great equalizer. And extroverts, they're terrified of it. They need noise to drown out the ticking. You've made peace with the clock. Hell, you've befriended it. That's why you'll outlast them. That's why you'll get the last laugh at their funeral. Why don't you come to the reunion, Uncle Silas? We miss you. Bull. They miss their punching bag. They miss having someone to pity between martinis. Here's how you handle family. First, never defend your silence. You're not a suspect. You're a goddamn monument. When they say, you're so quiet, you say, and you're so loud. Fascinating. Then go back to carving the turkey like it's your last meal. Second, bring a prop, a book, a crossword, a flask shaped like the Constitution. When they ask, why are you always reading? Say, trying to figure out which cousin gets the inheritance. Watch them scatter. Third, invent a hobby so bizarre it silences them. Tell them you're translating Sanskrit erotica, or building a coffin, or communing with crows. They'll stop asking questions. They might even start fearing you. And fear, my friends, is the introvert's love language. Christmas is war. And you're the guerrilla fighter, silent, patient, and when you strike, it's with a truth so sharp it scars their small talk forever. I planned my funeral. You should too. Here's the blueprint. 1, no eulogy. Just a recording of me saying, if you're hearing this, you're wasting time. I told you not to. 2, play Sinatra's My Way, but skip to the last 30 seconds. Ain't no one earned the full song. 3, bury me with a library card and a bottle of bourbon. Let the worms learn something. Now, their funerals, that's where you shine. Wear black. No, wear the Hawaiian shirt they hated. Sit in the back. Don't cry, don't pray, just smile. Smile like you know the secret. No one's brave enough to say, he talked too much and said nothing. Then leave early, stop at a diner, tip the waitress double, eat pie in silence. That's your tribute. That's your middle finger to the circus. Sun Tzu said, appear weak when you're strong. But Sun Tzu never met a retiree with a library card and a vendetta. Here's the real playbook. Strategy 1, poison the well. When they ask, hey, what have you been up to? Say, avoiding you. Grin. Let them think it's a joke. It's not. Strategy 2, the reverse interrogation. They ask, you still live alone? You ask, you still pretending your wife loves you? Watch their face melt like a wax dummy. Strategy 3, nuclear ignorance. Forget names. Forget birthdays. Forget their existence until they stop expecting anything from you. Freedom's just selective amnesia. This ain't cynicism, it's ecology. Pruning the dead weight so the real stuff grows. Your mind, your peace, your goddamn sanity. Think about it. God created Eden, then kicked everyone out for talking too much, sent a flood when the noise got unbearable. His son, 30 years of silence, then 3 years of sermons. Even the Holy Ghost, he's a ghost. Coincidence? Nah. Heaven's not a choir, it's a study. Leather chairs, no small talk. Just you, your thoughts, and the occasional angel sliding a scotch across the desk. Prayer? That's just meditation with better marketing. You want divine intervention? Try sitting still for an hour. Listen to the hum of the fridge. That's the universe whispering, you're doing fine, kid. They say hell is other people. Heaven? That's a lock on the door and a sign that says, back in 10 minutes, forever. When I go, I'm leaving 3 things. 1, a will that says, burn it all, especially the photo albums. 2, a letter that says, if you're reading this, you're the reason I needed whiskey. 3, a stain on the carpet where I spilled bourbon, laughing at their mistakes. Your legacy isn't your kids. It's not your job. It's the dent you leave in the world's expectations. The quiet kid who became the unbreakable man, the ghost they couldn't exorcise. So tonight, do me a favor. Pour a drink, turn off the phone, sit in the dark, and let the silence scare the hell out of everyone who ever underestimated you. That's how you win. You know why Napoleon lost? He left his damn house. Big mistake. Your couch isn't furniture, it's a throne, a bunker, a confessional where the only sins forgiven are theirs. Rule 1, never answer the door. Not for UPS, not for Girl Scouts, especially not for family. Let them think you're dead. Let them panic. Nothing scares people more than a man who doesn't need their Amazon packages. Rule 2, curate your chaos. Pile books like sandbags. Leave half-empty coffee cups as landmines. Make the room scream. Enter at your own peril. Rule 3, train the neighbors. Let one see you naked once, just once. They'll call you eccentric instead of lonely. Upgrade from sad old man to local cryptid. Your couch is Waterloo. And you're the general who wins by never showing up. They'll tell you drinking alone is tragic. Know what's really tragic? Book clubs. Men who need permission slips to read. I drink to think, to dissolve the noise. But I read to arm myself. You want revenge? Memorize Seneca. Then quote him at your ex's funeral. Here's the play. 1. Rent a book so obscure the librarian blushes. 2. Leave cryptic notes in the margins. See page 142, if you dare. 3. Return it stained with bourbon. Let the next guy taste your rebellion. Libraries are the last place you can scream without opening your mouth. Use them. She told the judge you were emotionally distant. Damn right, you were distant like a sniper. Divorce is an introvert's renaissance. Now, no one nags you to fake laugh at barbecues. No one throws out your crazy notebooks. Just silence, sweet, vengeful silence. Send her a Christmas card every decade. Not to reconnect, to remind her you're still alive, still free, still the ghost she couldn't exorcise. Her greatest fear? That you're happy. So be happy. Be blissful. Be a slap in the face to her normal life. Let her lie awake, wondering why you're not begging for closure. Closure's for doors. You're a wall. Don't let them summarize you in pastel platitudes. Draft your own damn obituary. Example, Silas Marlowe died as he lived. Absolutely correct. He outlived his enemies, outdrank his friends, and left behind a collection of taxidermied crows named after his ex-bosses. In lieu of flowers, burn a self-help book. Key elements. 1, blame no one. Survived by no one of importance. 2, brag quietly. Awards, none, regrets, fewer. 3, end with a threat. Disturb my grave and I'll haunt your Wi-Fi. Death's the last party you'll ever skip. RSVP, no in ink. They'll mock your slow pace. Let them. Speeds for men who miss details, like heart attacks and jealous husbands. Step 1, delete your birthday. Age in secret. Let co-workers guess if you're 65 or a vampire. Step 2, eat spite for breakfast. Nothing extends life like proving someone wrong. Step 3, bury them with praise. Attend their funerals, call them legends, then outlive their legacy by decades. I've seen men drop dead mid-sentence, know what their last word was, and don't be and, be the end. You think Elon Musk runs SpaceX? No, some introvert in a garage does. Your garage isn't for cars. It's a lab, a chapel, a place to build what they'll never understand. Project ideas, a clock that ticks backward to mock their deadlines. A chair made of divorce papers, kindling optional. A radio that only plays static, better than their opinions. They want to network? Let them. You'll network with steel and solder. While they're swapping business cards, you're building a throne. They'll say, "You're so thin, eat something." Tell them you are. You're eating their pity, their fear, their goddamn mediocrity. The introvert's food pyramid. 1. Base layer, caffeine and contempt. Second mid-layer, protein shakes blended with Machiavelli quotes. Third layer, a single olive for garnish and existential dread. You don't live to eat, you eat to outlive. Every man gets one last word, most wasted on "I love you" or "tell Karen." Not you. Yours will be a punchline they'll dissect for decades. My plan? Whisper, checkmate, and flatline. Let 'em autopsy me looking for the board. Your move, your rules, your silence. Now get out of my sight. I've got a legacy to neglect.